Will be covering organizational development and change, block 3, forms of organizational change. In that we'll learn about the unit 8, that is mergers and acquisitions, and unit 9, turnaround management. Let's first understand what is merger and acquisitions. When we see organizational trends in post-COVID era, the change is most important issue in modern managers. Globalizations, deregulation and technology have intensified pressure to be flexible, response and efficient. Change occurs during managing resources, processes and emotionally stimulus. Restructuring in primary strategy, with mergers and acquisitions being most common globally, because we have seen the changes which are simultaneously and parallelly. All the resources are changing after the post-COVID. Processes change. The people who are going full-time office now, they are also under the hybrid modes. Emotionally also, people have lot of changes after the post-COVID era. So these changes leads to parallelly, because all these changes works and all these changes leads to restructuring and redesigning the organizations, which also leads to the mergers and acquisitions. When we see managing change, let's understand with this diagram. The external pressures comes from the organization on the organizations. Then whenever there is an external pressure comes due to some political or demographically or global mergers or maybe acquisitions, there is a turbulence in the internal system of an organization, and the organizational response, and it leads to the restructuring strategies. They start working on how to restructure the organization, how to redefine the job roles. Then it leads to growth and sustainability, and finally, along with that restructuring, mergers and acquisition, that also helps to leading to growth and sustainability of an organization. It is also seen that the organizational response not only leads to the restructuring of the existing organization, but also leads to the merger and acquisitions of the organizations. Now, when we see the trends in post-COVID era, the first is external environmental impact, which is globalization and worldwide competition, which focused organization to rethink the strategies. Intense forces of change impacting the sales, marketing, research and management practices. Factors adding to complexity, the global labor market shifts, rising FDI and export opportunity changes, policy changes and diversity and changing demographics of the organization. Second is after the external pressure, for example, due to globally, whenever the external environment put an impact on an organization or in the industry or in economy on a whole, the internal environment turbulence is there within an organization. There are certain changes which need to cope up with the external environment issues, and that can be redundant workforce, individual differences or resistance to change. The organization adapt by embracing right schedules, deadlines and budget restrictions. After this internal turbulence within an organization, it comes with a flexible systems and structures. Creativity and innovation and autonomy is comes in picture. Shifts towards job sharing or telecommuting or dynamic work design is changes. Then is focus, the main focus is on employability over lifetime employment. So this flexible system and processes happen to be after the internal turbulence, where they need to match with the external environment of an organization. Flat structures. Flat structure is seen in an organization which is increasingly adapting flatter hierarchies. It was seen that previously the organization had the vertical hierarchies, where there are a lot of designations and different decision makers sit on those designations, and But now it is seen that organizations are increasing the flat hierarchy or horizontal hierarchies. The drivers are need for speed in decision making, because more vertical it is, more it is it takes time to decide about some specific issue. Second is technology support, and third is it is cost effective. So employees are empowered to take decisions. They are organization gives them the authority to take the decision in their own space, own areas. Then is networked organization. The communication flows directly and across departmental and teams. Is flatter organizations are there. Competitive landscape marked by outsourcing, downsizing, or the strategic alliances, or maybe simultaneously competition and collaboration happens. Customization and decentralization add to organizational complexity. Then is speed of change. The organization must match the rapid change with a quick response, because there are a lot of technological, there is a rapid change in the technology, the employees' ambitions, their skilling, customers' demands, and diverse product and services portfolios are there. So these can be taken as a challenges, these can be taken as an opportunity, which can be aligned with a change, which can align all these changes with the strategies, so that the change which is happening within a period of time, it can be able to match with the quick decisions. Identity and culture is all about rapid change, and which requires organization to preserve the history, values and ethos of an organization. The ethics of an organization are very important, where it is play a very important role in sustaining the organizational identity. So the merge, when we see from a merger and acquisitions context, it is if it is well managed, the merger and acquisitions can lead to growth and prosperity. So the Peter Drucker in 1981 also highlighted the rules of successful acquisitions. Merger waves in US history has seen by characterized by a cycle of intense merger activities, which is followed by quarter phases. In 1980s, it happened to be a leverage and hostile deals. Then early 90s, it collapsed. Within a decade, it collapsed or over leveraged mergers, and finally in 1993 onwards, the resurgence with large scale mega mergers happened. So these were from 1980s to 90s, early 90s, 93, nearly 93. There were certain merger waves which has happened to be in US. So it is well said that if it is well managed, the merger and acquisition can lead to growth and prosperity. Otherwise, it will actually lead to very failures, or maybe because of any maybe over leveraging, or it depends on the deals, or depends on the the policies they formed after the merger and acquisitions. So let's see what is the history of mergers. The first wave happened to be in 1897 to 1904, where it is the post depression of 1883, where the mergers mostly in major mining and manufacturing industries only. Mainly the industries involved for the food products, petroleum, chemicals, transportation, equipments or steel industry. So overall the mergers happen to be in these industries, ranging for oligopoly, where the formation of the conglomerate is happened to be which is known as oligopoly. Here the merging is happened to be between these two concepts, where the primary metal, petroleum, food, chemicals, transportations industries were involved. This happened to be in post World War I, where the economy was on boom, capital availability for security markets and investment banking, banker support was there. Consolidation of industry was the outcome, and the growth of large oligopolistic industry structure happened to be during this second wave. The history of merger happened further in the third wave 1965 to 1969. That was for 4 years, and historically high in merger and acquisitions activities happened. There were a lot of mergers, small firms acquiring was acquired by the large ones, diversified firms like General Motors, electronics, computer, Hughes, aircraft. So there was rapid growth in the management science, application of management methodologies across the industries, across the organizations. The outcome of this, the impact of this merger was there was poor financial performance due to accounting manipulations and movement away from the specialization, because it was more focused on on the mergers. So when there were mergers, there were a lot of financial accounting was done, and the outcome was because there were flaws in that, and it was not industry segment, it was on a very broader spectrum. The fourth wave happened to be 1981 to 1989, where mega mergers happened and hostile takeovers become common, and high profile targets were there. The main industry happened involved in this is oil, drugs, medical equipments and airlines. So the notable features and the causes of this was deregulation, aggressive investment bankers, legal political strategies, and shareholder activism with the foreign takeover. The organizations take over, the most of the multinationals enter into the industry, where the industry consolidation on the airlines, oil has increased. The concentration is specific sector hostile, the merger and acquisitions. Further in 1990s, when we say post 1990, the mergers of 1990, the early 1990s onwards, there were large mega mergers, there were very few hostile deeds, and strategic measures were emphasized. The drugs, medical equipments, banking and finance, these industries mainly were involved in that. Economic recovery, post recession, focus on efficiency and strategy over quick gains. Merger and acquisitions as a strategic growth tool continued to be as an industry consolidation. It is shift towards a planned strategic transactions happened to be during this phase. So there were major phases of mergers, and the history of mergers are mentioned. Let's see what are the type of mergers. First is horizontal merger, then is vertical merger, conglomerate merger and triangular merger. So these are the four mergers. Let's understand in detail about these four mergers. Horizontal merger is a combination of two companies selling similar products in the same market. For example, SBI merged its subsidiaries in the finance sector. The purpose of this merger was to achieve the economies of scale, increase market share and reduce competition. Whereas the vertical merger is a merger between the companies in same industry but at different stages of the supply chain, that is the buyer-seller relationship. Here the one of the example is Merck, that is in healthcare. It merged with the medical equipment companies. So the leverage, the main purpose was the leverage of brand, integrate the supply chain and improve the efficiency of the overall organization. Then there is conglomerate merger, which is a kind of merger between the companies in entirely unrelated industries, no competition or buyer-seller relationship. Bajaj Group, Godrej Group, ITC Limited, JSW Group, these are one of the finest example in this. Here the main purpose was diversification, reduce risk and expand into new industries. Whereas the triangular merger is foreign companies acquires a local company by exchanging shares of subsidiary located at the local country. So, the main purpose of this kind of triangular merger is to facilitate the cross-border acquisitions, or often for regulating the tax purposes or tax reasons. But what are the reasons of merger? Reasons of merger can be many. Some of the reasons, mainly reasons, are strategic motivation, sound financing, industry trends, corporate identity transformation, risk and cost sharing, and global expansion, complete product and service links, line, brand and customer acquisition, alternative to new business. So, let's understand these reasons in detail. Let's see what is strategic motivation. Merger and acquisitions are driven by strategic goals rather than just financial gains. Jobs are often created rather than lost, and companies are not built but destroyed. Access to contemporary intellectual capital is the primary motivation of the strategic motivation, whereas whenever there is a modern deal which uses buyer stocks as currency, or combined with cash if needed, or third party financing is readily available with commercial and investment bankers and competing to fund transactions, it leads to the sound financing mergers, because it is all related with the economy and the finance of the merger, or maybe whenever there is a need of finance, or especially it combines with the cash. Then is industry trends. Industry trend merger or acquisition happens when it is driven by rapid technological changes, fierce competition, evolving customer preferences, cost effective products and services, or shrinking resources. So, these are the industry trends which leads to the merger and acquisition among the organization. Then is merger can happen because of the corporate identity transformation, where there is a crisis whenever a organization the big organization merge the small organization, or it acquire the small organization, it enhances the reputation and brand perception of that particular organization. So, this is corporate identity transformation merger or acquisition. Then there is another merger and acquisition that happens to be on basis of the risk and cost sharing, where the deal happen to be to help the spread risk and cost associated with new technologies, research, or maybe access to resources. The global expansion is also very important reason which happened to be in merger and acquisition, where this was the main reason when a lot of multinationals comes and acquire the Indian companies and globally expand their products. So, this merger and acquisition enables the companies to gain international presence and market share more cost effectively than building operations from the scratch. Complete product and service line. Acquisitions help companies offer full product and service line. It balances seasonal or cyclic market trends and meet the customer's demand for convenience. So, it is said to be as a one-stop shopping for the consumers. It is more consumer friendly or consumer focused. Then another reason of merger and acquisition can be brand and customer acquisitions, where buying established brand loyalty and customer relationship is often cheaper than building from scratch. Goodwill plays a very important role here. The goodwill becomes a key asset of this merger and acquisition. There is another acquisition which happened. There is another reason for that, can be alternative to new business, where some buyers prefer acquisition as faster, less risky, and to enter a new line of business aligning with long-term strategic goals. Now, what can be the purpose of mergers and acquisitions? We have seen the reasons, but there must be some purpose of merger and acquisitions. That can be procurement of supplies, where an organization or a company acquire another company to safeguard sources of raw materials or intermediary products. Then another purpose can be revamping the production facilities, where it achieve economies of scale by merging production facilities, standardizing product specifications, or to improve the quality. Market expansion and strategy is another purpose, where the organization eliminate competition, protect existing markets, gain new market outlets, enhance product range, reduce the advertising cost. Financial strength can be on the on the basis of whenever there is an need of liquidity or a cash flow within an organization, then also sometimes the mergers and acquisitions happened, which is seen as a we have seen in the reason also where the need of cash is important, which is known as sound financing reason. And the purpose is here very clear about whenever there is a need of cash flow. So this is the purpose to be gain a financial strength. The general gains can just to improve the corporate image. Development plan is another purpose, where merger and acquisitions are required to support the offerer company's long-term development goals, such as expanding operations. Another point after the purpose, we have seen that there are certain agencies, which are known to be as an experts also in that particular area in merger and acquisitions. Now, what is their role in merger and acquisitions? First are known to be as stockbrokers. Stockbrokers are their main role and responsibility is to they work as a consultancy to acquirers and traders. It promotes the sale and purchase of undertaking. For example, there is a very significant example in UK and US which acts as intermediate in transactions. Second agency can be advocates or a legal consultants, where they advise on statutory and legal formalities, which is very essential for the legal validity of the mergers or takeovers or acquisitions, which ensure the adherence to the laws. The third one is financial institutions, banks or BIFR. This is important because everything relates with the finance. It approves the mergers involving the debtors, companies, or safeguard the institutional interest as creditors. The key for mergers involving financial stress or companies which ensure the continuity and financial stability. Advisors can be external or it can be internal. They also play a role of an agency. They can be chartered accountants or financial consultants. They are experts in their own areas who critically access the mergers and acquisitions, the aspects, provide the summary findings and advise on commercial viability of the mergers. The example we have seen as a key of evaluating financial and operational feasibility. Merchant bankers. Merchant bankers are another agency which advise the management to commercial soundness of merger plan, guide on legal requirements and help prepare offer documents and shareholder circulars. It also ensures the SEBI compliance, that everything has to be as per the compliance and as per the regulations. So here it is complementary to CA or financial consultants roles, also crucial for regulatory and compliance aspects. So we have seen the role of agency. Let's see in detail what are the legal provisions as per the country or as per the region wise. When we talk about the UK and Europe, there is a city code on takeover and mergers. The purpose here is to regulate the voluntarily or forced corporate combinations which ensure the discipline and protection of shareholder and public interest. Let's talk about India. MRTP Act 1969, Companies Act 1956, Industries Act 1951, FERA 1973, SICA 1985, Income Tax Act 1961 and SEBI Act 1992 safeguards the public interest, regulates the concentration of economic power, governs corporate takeovers, mergers and ensures consumer protection. US, there are certain legal provisions which are Sherman Act 1890, Kellerton Act 1914, Antitrust Improvement Act 1976 and Securities Exchange Act 1934, which prevent the monopolies and trade restraints, protects the investors, regulate mergers, to avoid the anti-competitive practices and amend. It can be amended over time to adapt the economic changes. General principles where the application of law ensures the protection of interests of shareholders, creditors, employees, consumers, general public during merger and acquisition transaction, where the main purpose is a social interest is considered alongside economic activity to ensure fairness and legality. Now let's see the alternative to mergers and acquisitions. The one alternative can be joint venture. Joint venture is all about the legal structure where the partnership or the owned corporation where two or more parties collaborate to achieve strategic or financial objective, share cost, risk or the resources. It can be short term, it can be long term. Second can be franchising. Franchising means the expansion strategy allowing the small or the medium businesses to distribute the products and services via their motivated employers or operators. Technology and merchandise licensing. This is a contractual transfer of intellectual property rights to third parties without transferring the ownership. It includes the technology licensing on the contractual basis, merchandising and character licensing again on the it allows to use the trademark or the copyright to consumer goods or manufacturers. Distributorship and dealership. These are the third party independent companies that distribute the manufacturer products to the retailers or to the consumers directly. So there are for certain alternatives when the merger and acquisition is not possible, the joint venture comes in, or maybe one can take the franchisee or partnership can be done, contractual technology and merchandise licensing can be done. One can become the distributor or stockist or the dealership of that particular services and product to distribute directly to the retailers and consumers. So these are the alternatives of merger and acquisition. But merger and acquisition altogether is a different strategy where a different legal provisions has to be taken care of, and it's a long term process where a lot of agencies and a lot of experts are involved in that. So merger and acquisition is mainly taking the or maybe combination of or combining the two organization or overtaking the entire organizational functionals. Now let's see what is turnaround management. Turnaround management is all about management change in India, where the changes become a natural concern for Indian organization after 1991 liberalization policy. This exposed Indian firms to global competition, rapid technological changes and rising consumer demands, and the organization need to adapt to survive, lead to diverse change. So to cope up with these changes, to cope up with this competition and the demands of our consumers, organization need to change. That change leads to turnaround management. Let's understand from another context. Industrial sickness, the natural byproduct of industrialization, where the strong units grow, weak ones disappear. often results from poor planning, inefficiency, or management failure. It is not just a technological process. It happens to be main reasons are poor planning, inefficiency, and management failure. The industrial sickness rose to firms failed to withstand competition and post-liberalization. The organizational change refers to the fundamental reorientation in how an organization operates, not just as a minor adjustment, but it includes the changes in the mission, the goals, the structure, where it is whether it is all about downsizing or right sizing or creating the entire organization structure or redesigning or restructuring, change in the technology, changing in adoption or collaborations. It also aimed to long-term sustainability and competitiveness. Turnaround time becomes necessary when firms face economical reversals due to competition or environmental pressures. When a customer demands declines, it becomes necessary that time, because finding out the reasons, finding out the issues or the problems, the change need to be change is important. Then it comes in the picture. The firms overextend to markets and fail to sustain growth. It involves a withdrawing from weak ventures, relocating resources to them, or redesigning strategies to them, aimed at reviving and sustaining the organization in adverse conditions. So turnaround management is very critical and critical response to industrial sickness and competitive pressures. Requiring industrial organizations is fundamentally restructure and adopt new strategies to survive and sustain growth in post-liberalization area. Post-1991 reforms, the globalization or liberalization and privatization, it brought performance pressures and need to meet global benchmarks. Whereas the industrial sickness became common as many companies were unable to manage the cost and the competition. Turnaround management emerged as a key approach in 1990s and continues till 21st century. It is still very much in the industry. There are certain strategies of turnaround management. First is internal growth strategy. Internal growth strategy is focused on sustaining an organization from within an organization, within an internal systems. It begins with prioritizing the issues and expanding the market development or new products or innovations. It also involves a redesigning and consolidating the internal processes. One of the example is Star India, that is when the former CEO Peter Mukherjee, he lost major viewership share, and that was a very critical situation. And then there was a game changer, Kaun Banega Crorepati or KBC came, which revived the company. The result, Star India now turns 33 channels in 8 languages, reaching 400 million viewers weekly in India and audiences across 100 plus countries. Then another strategy can be external growth strategies. External growth strategies happen to be whenever there is an outside linkage and expansion is required. The key method can be horizontal integration, merging with competitors, vertical integration, control across supply chain, outsourcing from core activities, and or the conglomerate diversification, where it leads to expansion of new related areas. Here the main aim is not only the cost effectiveness but also the quality focus. One of the best example is of Dabur India, where when the CEO Sunil Duggal, there was high demand but unable to meet the requirements. This strategy happened to be outsourced non-core business like IT and refocused on consumer products, on the quality. So they diversified into skincare and packaged juices and toothpaste. The result, sustainable growth with diversified portfolio. So this is an example when there is a when the outside linkage or the outsourcing non-core activities or the integration happen to be with the help of outside linkages, and focus is mainly on the quality. Then there is disinvestment strategy. This is used when retrenchment and survival are critical. It includes a turnaround, right sizing, downsizing and liquidization. It often implemented in combination of effectiveness. For example, India Cements, where the N. Srinivasan was VC and managing director. Indian Cement faced crisis when cement prices crashed. Lenders pressured company. There were different measures happened to be as a corporate debt restructuring, cost cutting, asset sales, and issued global depository receipts, that is GDRs, that despite oppositions. So learning here was to avoid the debt-based expansion in volatile market. The result happened to be the company revived and become a leading cement firm. But let's more understand on the turnaround management, where it is a overall, when we see turnaround management, it is a process of corporate renewal to save the inefficient or distressed companies and restore them to stability and profitability through different strategies, which we have seen in these main strategies. So it also involves analysis, planning, review of management, SWOT analysis of an organization, diagnosis of causes of sickness and all. It leads to strategic renewal plan which aligned employees to implement it. Not only to the sick companies but also to profitable firms where the proactive or reactive changes are needed, because it's not, turnaround management is not applicable only to sick industry or the companies or the organizations who are getting into or reporting the losses, but it is also equally good for the profitable firms where they need the proactive approach. Possible outcome of turnaround strategies can be terminal decline, continued failure or success strategy. Terminal decline is wrong or poorly implemented strategies. When the strategies are poorly implemented, then the turnaround strategies can be work as a survival mode. Continued failure is good strategies, but due to failure of external or internal reasons may need repositioning or the fresh strategies. Then the turnaround strategies comes in picture, and the successful strategies where the objectives achieved and the organizations revived. Concept of turnaround is basically a relative recent phenomena which is context of acquisitions, mergers and privatization. It is used to both distressed companies and profitable acquisitions to realize synergies and shareholder values. The main practices is sale of non-core activities, focus on core business, focus on the quality. The cross-border mergers and acquisitions during 1990s made turnaround management more prominent. Hostile takeover gave rise to turnaround managers, focusing on speed, few mistakes and rapid results. Misconception is turnaround which is not equal to simple downsizing or restructuring. Downsizing may be a part of the plan, but alone it does not ensure survival. So it is seen that the turnaround management is related with downsizing or restructuring the organization, but only restructuring or downsizing cannot solve the purpose. There are certain strategies which has to be aligned. There are different activities which has to be aligned with restructuring or maybe downsizing. There are certain triggers of turnaround activities. First is acquisition of smaller company. When we say mergers or acquisitions of the companies of the same industry, and it happened to be in privatization of state-owned companies, then it can be a domestic or international turnaround. International and domestic turnaround, for example, in domestic, it is Times Bank merged with HDFC Bank, and in international example is Merita Bank Finland merged with Nordbank Bank, that is in Sweden, and the mega example is HP and Compaq merger, which is an international turnaround. Turnaround as also act as a recovery. It is often seen that recovery of declined performance relative to benchmarks, that is, for example, gross net profits or GNP or industrial growth or past performances. It is defined as recovery to profitability from a loss situation. It was mentioned by Khandelwal in 2001. It must distinguish between the genuine and transient recovery. Because when we say turnaround as a recovery, it is not only often seen as declined performance or recovery of declined performance, but also we have to see from other angle, because there they need to be they need to be compared with the the existing strategies of the companies or the past performances. So that is why it is it makes a recovery to profitability from a loss situation is a turnaround as a then it works as a tool of recovery. There are certain elements of turnaround management, whether the organization is manufacturing or service or irrespective of any functional area. The main element is industry it represents. What is the industry about? Whether it is what the industry core areas or core functional areas. Then the product structure. Third is reputation and brand of the company. Finally, the size of market share and competitor profile and position of the company. Khandelwal's he gave 10 categories of turnaround in 1991. Turnaround is not one-step pre-button exercise. It requires variety of coordinated actions. What are these actions? Let's understand this. First is managerial overhaul. The leadership or CEO level revival. Whenever there is because the leaders play a very important role in turnaround management, where the CEO also sometimes needs to revive the things. Asset cost surgery, layoffs, disinvestments or cutting surplus assets. Tighter control and financial mending, which means the stricter budgeting or cost cutting or loan restructuring. Transformational changes. It means the deep cultural and structural shifts. Restructuring and empowerment, that is decentralization, autonomy or the profit centers. The another 5 categories are strategic shift, that is change in long-term directions. Product market refocusing, that means the new lines or diversification or redesigning of product strategy. Sales push, that is boosting demand through aggressive marketing. Operational excellence, that is about the productivity, efficiency, quality improvement. Cost schedule discipline is all about rationalization of operations and strict resource control. So these were the 10 categories which, as mentioned, that it can be coordinated, it can be combined together, then only the proper turnaround management or turnaround exercise can be done. Whether it is managerial overhaul or asset cost surgery, or there is a requirement of transformational change or restructuring is required, product marketing refocusing or strategic shift, sales push, organizational excellence or cost schedule discipline. So these can be combined as per the product, as per the industry, as per the services provided by the organization. Now, what can be the steps? Steps in turnaround management. First is preliminary discussion. Whenever there is a requirement of turnaround time, there is a critical analysis can be done and need to understand whether handle intellectual team or external experts, the internal team or external experts. The initial dialogue before accepting turnaround management is very important, because there the diagnostic part is done. The primary objective is to find out the reasons, to find out the causes for the or requirement of the turnaround management. Second step can be revisit and reconfirm the decision. So it's not one day process. After preliminary discussion, again there is a revisit and reconfirming upon whether it is required or it was just a decision of that particular phase, or it was just a short term arousal which happened. So here re-examining the annual reports, balance sheets, published data or stakeholders' views keep in consideration. It helps in confirming the need for turnaround, because after revisiting after the discussion, it is more critically analyzed whether it is required and to what extent it is required, what strategies and what can be the combination of the strategies which can be used in that particular turnaround to turn around the entire management. Then the third step is setting the targets or about the objectives. It is based on the past performance and industry comparisons. It defines the key elements of the turnaround strategy. So the timeline has set, the targets have set, it is based on the past performance and industrial comparisons between the same product line or the same service. Then fourth one is financial grounding, which can be cash first or profit later. Cash flow projections are aligned with the milestones which are set by the targets or by the on the basis of the objective or by the problem statements or after reconfirming the decisions. So the liquidity is prioritized to sustain the operations. Taking charge of ground realities. It is very important, because everything cannot be able to work it out sitting on the table. They need to focus on the execution of strategy, not just by planning or style, but also to ensure the realistic adaptation of actual conditions. So analyzing the actual condition or ground reality is very important. Then next step is tighter control. The control is very important. When we say implementation have their own set targeted lines which prevents them from cost overruns and deviation from strategy. There the control is required after implementation. Cross-functional learning and blueprint creation happens to be when the lessons learned and applied systematically. The creation of blueprint is important, because then only the organization can work on that blueprint on a systematic way. Business mission statement and action plan is documented for the future. Team acceptance and formal approval. Turnaround plan must be approved and owned by the team. Implementation begins with monitoring mechanism in place. So here the team or the organization people or the employees play a very important role, especially the experts panel, the top management. The strategy decision is taken with their consideration only. So there it has to be approved, it has to be owned by the team of experts. And this implementation begins with monitoring mechanism which has to be in place within the timeline, within the the phases set during the turnaround management. Then is implementation and monitoring. Clear chronology of actions and defined time frame is there, but regular evaluation and correction is equally important and required until the turnaround succeeds. So from planning, from preliminary discussion to revisiting or reconfirming and setting the targets or the objectives and financial grounding, taking charge of ground realities, to control function on after that controlling the blueprint creation is required, and the acceptance and formal approval, and finally the implementation and monitoring is equally important to do the regular monitoring, regular evaluation is done to whenever there is a correction is required or flaws are there, so that can be corrected time to time, and it has to be done, it should be done in fact on till the transfer the turnaround succeeds in that particular organization or on that particular issue. So these were the the steps of turnaround management, the major 10 steps. But what are the key parameters that influence the turnaround? Ownership structure of the company, urgency of crisis, need for radical cost reduction, quality of capability of the existing management team, whether the turnaround manager will become the long-term CEO or not, whether the manager is assisted by others or works independently, degree of freedom given to manager, time available to decide on priorities and actions, and suitability of networks and tools available. So these are the few key parameters or the determinants which influence the turnaround, which happen to be lead to the turnaround. So there are additional factors also which affects the turnaround, is the nature of business, whether a business is in trading, service or manufacturing. Accordingly the strategies are built, accordingly the steps are built on that, or the kind of experts are required in that particular business as required. So industry sector belongs to what industry sector it belongs to, product structure, size and market share of the company, reputation of the company, because sometimes a turnaround can be happen because the reputation is diminished. So the turnaround management has done on building up the brand or building up the reputation of the company. Then is another factor can be competitor profile, and positioning is also seen. Now what are the types of turnaround situations? Turnaround situation one can be cost cutting versus growth dilemma, whether to cut the cost or to go towards the growth. So this is an exploring options, cost reduction and downsizing versus market driven growth. It introduce the profit improvement innovations, but the key challenge here is over reliance on cost cutting may harm growth also, because it is seen that if we rely mainly on the cost cutting only, it may harm the growth of an organization, which requires efficiency with expansion, the cultural resistance to change. Second situation can be leadership crisis, replacing the CEO or appointing turnaround specialist, empowering the leadership to take tough decision. It is not that easy, because there are a lot of legal or functional areas are aligned. The team has to be aligned with new direction. So this is this is a strategy which can be used, or maybe the typical response used in leadership crisis if it happens to be because of the leadership. And the key challenge happens is mainly on the trust deficit among the employees and stakeholder when a new person joins or in place of the CEO. So whether they can, there is a trust issue between the employees and the management team, managing uncertainty during leadership change when there is a movement in the leadership. So during that change, how to deal with that, and need for quick credibility building is very challenging. The next situation can be contextual or country specific. Here the strategy or the response can be to adapt the turnaround strategies in local, legal, social, political and economical conditions, or it leverage the tools and networks to suit the local context. But the challenge can be there is a limited transferability of the global practices, and the regulatory hurdles are there. Local socio-political sensitivities arises. So these are the main challenges where if it is on the cost cutting turnaround situation is there, then what to do to explore the options. Whenever there is a turnaround situation happen to be because of the leadership, then the strategy can be to replace us. Although there are different challenges in every situation, but it needs to be strategized in a adaptable and legal manner. Then there are different other situations where the immediate cash crisis happen to be. There the generic quick cash flow is required, the delay in payments or renegotiate terms can happen, calms the key stakeholders. The main challenge here is extremely limited in time, or maybe maintaining credibility while managing that panic moment. If the situation arises because of unprofitable subsidiary, then the review can be done on the performance of subsidiary, decide whether to restructure, sell or shut down, or align with the corporate strategy. The main key challenge here is the emotional resistance from headquarters, because it is unprofitable. It is all about the subsidiary unprofitability. So there can be emotional restraint from the headquarters, or it is the resource drain from the parent company can also happen. So and another challenge can be balancing autonomy versus control. So overall in this lecture we have learned about, since 1990s, mergers have been widely used as management tool for change. Organizations pursue mergers for various purposes and follow different type of mergers. Multiple agencies and stakeholders participate in the merger processes. Though alternatives exist, merger mania continues globally. Change management remains critical concern for the organizational worldwide. The business environment highly competitive, causing some organizations to disappear while creating opportunities for innovative firms. Corporative sickness and organized decline as common challenges. Turnaround strategies are necessary to revive these struggling organizations. Successful turnaround resources, careful strategy design, utilizing either external experts or internal resources. Large organizations with operations across geographical boundaries may need international turnaround management, and lessons from the last 2 decades can guide replication of the success in different organizational settings. Thank you so much for today. See you in the next session. Namaste.